The Shadow Effect, Illuminating the Hidden Power of Your True Self. By Deepak Chopra, Debbie Ford, Marianne Williamson. Part 1. The Shadow. We all have a dark side, and it is the undeniable face. This dark side is referred to as a shadow. Many people in the world want to get rid of their dark side, but unfortunately, it cannot be fixed. Why? Because shadow is mysterious. 3 different aspects can help in its diagnosis or a cure. 1. The fog of illusion. 2. The way out and a new reality. 3. A new power. The fog of illusion. The shadow creates a fog of illusion surrounding the self. Everyone is trapped in this fog. They try to escape their own darkness, and as a result, they end up strengthening the shadow further. The true solution to the dark side of people is a higher level of consciousness. Selecting a path to heal the soul is important, but it requires in-depth analysis of the shadow. The truth of one reality. Defeating the shadow needs everyone to give up the idea of defeating it, because it strengthens with struggles and conflicts. As per the realists, repression is also an evil. Control on feelings such as insecurity, fear, anger, and jealousy makes the shadow more powerful for its own use. No control over emotions traps people in the fog of illusion. With the dispersion of this fog, a ray of hope enables people to overcome fear. The clear mind becomes receptive to healing, and a person can overcome self-destruction to see things from a rational perspective. The collective shadow. According to Carl Jung, everyone is linked to a collective unconsciousness, and it is basic to their survival. In everyday life, a person can consider collective shadow in the form of these questions. 1. What is my social obligation? 2. What is my patriotic day? 3. How connected am I to others around me? 4. What do I owe to the less fortunate? 5. Can I change the world? Where is the proof? Collective unconsciousness remains unresolved for a long time due to insufficient proof. According to Jung, the state of happiness or unhappiness is shared by people or groups. For instance, many people participated in world wars and lost their lives, but they realized that they were moving towards utter destruction. Things normalized as people regained their sanity. Therefore, unconscious mind has a goal of keeping it unconscious. Creators of the shadow. Carl Jung and Sigmund Freud have played a key role in the creation of the shadow. Because of their findings, we have a different self. The experience of life is the manifestation of soul, and it is a result of contrast. If there is no contrast, a person cannot experience anything. The process continues. How does the shadow forms? Contrast creates separation between the light and dark. When separation goes into 2 opposing directions, it reveals the shadow's anger, fear, hostility, and envy. On gaining consciousness, a person understands that having a shadow is normal. The shadow comprises the separation pulse, but divine pulse seeks unity. Thus, the shadow plays an integral role as it gives us the self we perceive as a human in good and bad forms. The way out. We want to live in denial and do not want to acknowledge the fact that the more we remain unconscious, the more vulnerable we become a victim of shadow. The unconscious is gigantic, but we can separate it to be able to make sense of it. Please consider the following. Me and my shadow. Creation of a shadow is the entire process. The power of shadow increases every time people do the following. A. Keeping secrets from yourself and others. B. Harboring guilt and shame. C. Making yourself and others wrong. D. Needing someone to blame. E. Ignoring your own weakness while criticizing those around you. F. Separating yourself with others. G. Struggling to keep evil at bay. The following 4 categories with steps can help you toward making them. 1. Stop projecting. 2. Detach and let go. 3. Give up self-judgment. 4. Rebuild your emotional body. A new reality, a new power. Wholeness absorbs the shadow, and that is how it could be overcome. People are all interconnected just like the ecosystem, and they cannot survive in isolation. Every word people say, the way they behave and live, affects others around them. Therefore, people need to address to their problems instead of denying them. A new worldview. People usually say that everything happens for a purpose. But they really don't know what the purpose is when they are asked to reason their viewpoint. In the whole process, a person's mind starts searching for cause and effect explanations without any concrete reason. It leads people to believe in superstitions like, I got seriously ill because I cheated on my wife, I am not being able to make sufficient money because when I had it, I did not value it. What is wholeness like? Wholeness can lead people to unite with cosmic intelligence, and with it, everyone can become a conscious part of the whole. When it happens, it becomes practical for people to live holistically because it draws consciousness towards them, and they become more imaginative and creative. Wholeness wants to heal you. How the wholeness is restored in you. What does the body do to restore wholeness? It leads to the following things. 1. It seeks balance. 2. Every cell communicates with every other. 3. No part is more important than the whole. 4. Rest and activity are harmonized. 5. In the midst of the constant activity, there is a stable foundation. 6. Every cell adapts to change the environment. 7. Stress could be countered and brought under control. Wholeness is always a gain, never a loss. If we and things around us cease to evolve, they will remain the same forever. In a way, when the older generation dies, it paves way for the new generation. If evolution does not take place, things or life on Earth will remain static. When you assess things from the perspective of wholeness, things are dynamic and they keep altering. Wholeness is close, not far away. Wholeness is very close to people than they expect it to be. When people recognize and experience themselves as their source, and the world they live in at the same time, they become whole. When it comes to wholeness, distance between people and their thought is not relevant because everything is being coordinated at once. Wholeness is beyond the shadow. People who conquer the shadow avoid fighting it, and rather, they transcend it, and when you transcend, you go beyond. For instance, when a child becomes too demanding, his mother does not meet her child on such grounds because then, she realizes that her child is tired and needs to sleep. Since such issues are very common, it is absolutely not hard to see how the shadow gains power. Wholeness resolves all conflict. When people become confident that they can go beyond any situation, transcending comes down to earth. Conflicts happen because of duality, and the wholeness is naturally inclined towards resolving conflicts. People need to shift away from duality. They need to stop blaming, judging and labeling. People should consider the following in this relation. 1. The conflict between being safe and being unsafe. 2. The conflict between love and fear. 3. The conflict between desire and necessity. 4. The conflict between acceptance and rejection. 5. The conflict between the one and many. Part 2. Making peace with ourselves, others and the world. People hide their true face of disappointment from the world in general, and keep living by putting up a happy face, pretending that all is well. As a result, people fail to realize or identify their real potential. They can make this world a beautiful place for others to live. People can achieve anything they want to, but they need to make complete use of their real potential. They can learn to rely on external sources. For instance, a college student needs to observe others in class. Discovering the hidden aspects make people to become more confident. The influence of the shadow. Everyone's shadow controls them in every aspect of life, ranging from socializing with people to spending money. People need to face it boldly instead of hiding from it. Facing shadow makes people to lose sufficient energy and time. People need to confront their dark side to discover their true hidden gifts and to become whole. Our dualistic self. People are dualistic beings because all of them have two faces. One is a good one and the other one is a bad one. Everyone has the capacity to rise against the odds, and at the same time, they can also dig their own grave by becoming self-destructive. It completely transforms anyone's life and allows them to see themselves as who they are and others around them and the world in general. The birth of the shadow. The birth of shadow happens with the birth of a person. All negative messages get ingrained in anyone's mind, and as a result, it alters their perception about themselves. The entire process unconsciously separates their authentic self, that is their true self. This process leads them to separate their true self from what they actually are. A person's inner self, or voice, has been buried somewhere deep within him, or her. Befriending our shadow. Anyone's shadow is important than they perceive it to be. It is an important aspect of anyone's personality. If anyone allows their shadow to serve as an integrated part of their whole self, they could lead to rich experiences. Once the shadow is befriended, it becomes a divine map, and if it is properly read and followed, it can reconnect anyone to the kind of life that they are meant to live. Our shadow mask. The reason people bury their dark side within their psyche is because of bad experiences they had in their life. In other words, you create a wall around you that prevents you from others. In the process, you unconsciously forget about your authentic power and dreams, exposing our secret life. People live two types of lives. One is public life and the other one is the secret life. We tend to hide our secret life from others because it has an element of shame or guilt. If you do not express your dark side or even do not acknowledge it, it can play havoc in not just your own life, but others' life around you as well. The shadow effect. Every negative emotion or dark thought you try to ignore, it is similar to holding a beach ball under the water. Shadow effect is all about holding on to negative feelings for too long, and they suddenly pop up in the form of a sudden blast boiling up within you. If you want to embrace your shadow and do not want the shadow effect to derail you, you must open up about your inner feelings to become the person you are in reality. Uncovering our shadow. We have a habit of projecting our bad behavior on other people. Projection refers to involuntary defense mechanism of the ego. We must learn to own our projections because it is a courageous experience and we must go through it to find inner peace. Unmasking our shadow. To find unclaimed parts of yourself, you can explore the repetitive behavior patterns you have been struggling with for several years. To understand the patterns of behavior resulting from repressed feelings, or an embarrassing aspect of your shadow, you can go to the source of your behavior and break the pattern. When we willingly embrace a particular behavior, we take back the power over our own actions, and in the process, break the unwanted responses. The gifts of our shadow. Your shadow can play a very crucial role in shaping your life. Instead of allowing it to dismantle your life, you can use its power to excel in life in various aspects. People must forgive the negative aspects of their shadow because fire can never be extinguished from fire. When you come across your shadow, you will realize that it does not try to destroy you. Embracing our light shadow. Your shadow just not comprises all the bad qualities that the society disapproves of in general. The irony is that we just not bury the dark side of the shadow deep in our psyche, but we also bury the lighter side, including the good traits, like being a loving and caring person, being humorous, competent, genius, successful, courageous, confident and charismatic. If the projection phenomenon is not present in you, it may remain hidden in you for the lifetime. Integrating the shadow. Your shadow is an indestructible part of who you are. Even if you try your best to get rid of it, you can never do so. Considering these aspects, it is your choice as to how you use it for your own benefit. You just need to attain self-acceptance and keep improving without giving up. Part 3. Only light can cast out darkness. We are part of the world where we have become highly traumatized. We are suppressed to a degree where we have become immune to atrocities where negative emotions like hatred and contempt thrive. Not only that, we are also living separately from ourselves as well. In a way, humanity is not in its mind. It might not be real, but it sure looks real. We are all divided into two aspects. One is the shadow, where darkness and sadness prevail. And the other one is the illuminator, which is the light. Where there is no love, expect fear. When your thoughts are devoid of love, the shadow enters. Your thoughts then become full of anger, resentment, jealousy, and fear. This leads to self-destructive process. To dispel the shadow, people can join religious groups to think positively. By the way, it is on the move. Your shadow is like a cancer cell which turns against you. Your mind becomes your own enemy by turning you against you. It creates a split between who you really are and what you want to become. Group shadows. Just like the shadow prevails in different individuals, it is also present in the form of a group shadow, where more than one person has similar ideology regarding something. For instance, terrorism is a group shadow where some people have more or less identical perceptions. Group shadows are hard to dismantle because they form a collective ideology. Good intentions are not enough. Even if you have good intentions towards different things, your shadow does not allow you to make any difference because it has metaphysical roots. Good intent will not do any good. You may have good intentions, but they are simply not enough. For instance, if you are an alcoholic, merely having a good intent to quit it will not help you. The only thing that can help you overcome the shadow is love. Owning and atoning. You need to first accept your shadow before trying to get rid of it. In other words, you need to own it. Only then you can do something to completely eradicate it. The concept of atonement is very common in Christianity and Judaism. Atonement refers to an idea where you truly repent for your sins from God. Forgive yourself, forgive them. Your shadow is very good at looking at shadow of others, but it does not realize its own mistakes. The projection of guilt on others is a very common problem in the world. To heal the shadow, people must forgive it. Resist ye not love. We have the light within us but do not recognize it and keep living under the dark shadow. Despite knowing that we are highly capable of turning things around, we let the shadow hijack our thoughts and the soul. Everyone must learn to say no to shadow for allowing light to shine and look beyond miseries and negativities. Similarly, they must learn to say yes every time they feel light is knocking at their threshold. What we learned. What was the core message that we got from this book? We all have a dark side and it is the undeniable face which is referred to as a shadow. When the fog of illusion disperses, a ray of help emerges which could help you overcome fear. Everyone is linked to a collective unconsciousness which is basic to their survival and still remains unresolved. We want to live in denial and do not want to acknowledge the fact that the more we remain unconscious, the more vulnerable we become a victim of shadow. People hide disappointments from the world, and keep living by putting up a happy face, pretending that all is well. Shadow controls each and every one in all aspects of life ranging from socializing to spending money. A fact cannot be denied that people have dualistic nature, one is good and other one is bad. If you do not express your dark side or even do not acknowledge it, it can play havoc in not just your own life, but others' life around you as well. The true solution to the dark side of human beings is a higher level of consciousness. Instead of allowing your shadow to dismantle your life, you can use its power to excel in life in various aspects. We are all interconnected just like the ecosystem, and we cannot survive in isolation.